Today we are talking about why good guys finish last. I'm Shamika Sanders. Beside me, I have the beautiful Jessie Wu and the fabulous Africa Miranda. Guys, in a recent interview, Sir Slim Thug asserted that Ciara was not happy in her relationship with Russell Wilson because he is a good guy. To use his word, he is a square. Get us this quote right here. He wrote this, y'all. This is his version. End of quote. Version. Do a woman used to talk to Future really want a Russell Wilson? He's just a corny dude. He's just like a square. Okay, before we get into this question of the week, what do you define as a good guy? What does that mean?
I've found, to be very honest, my definition of a good guy has changed over the years. A good guy for me used to mean that he had money, that he had a certain social standing, but I found that didn't mean that they were really good people. So now for me, a good guy is someone that is kind, that's a hard worker, that doesn't have serious problems with honesty, and that actually is a little square.
Oh. I feel like for me, those qualities now, you can find them anywhere, not just in the church or in school, because I used to associate the good guy with the guy who's in church, the guy who's in the library all the time. But now I feel like you can find you a good guy in the street. You know what I'm saying? Some of these street dudes, they be good guys. They'll take care of you. They'll care about you. They'll motivate you. They'll support you. So for me, it's just, sometimes the popular definition of a good guy is not my definition of a good guy.
All of this leads us to the question of the week. Why do we pick good guys last? Okay, ladies, so why don't we just pick the good guy first? Doesn't it seem so simple?
Yeah. Who said we don't, though? Because
Hello, everyone. This is King Sigma coming to you live. It's Wednesday, May 6, 2020. Hope everyone is doing very, very well and that you've all been holding it down during this quarantine and lockdown. Hopefully, more than anything, you've actually taken advantage of some of this off time. Some of you guys have been furloughed, some have been unemployed, some just had their hours cut. But if you're definitely one of those people that your lifestyle slowed down over the last 2 months, I hope that you've been using this time wisely. At least I've definitely been trying to do so myself. So just want to shout the brothers out in the chat. Salute to the brother Dallas. Thanks for that support. Fast Attack Tough. He says salute to you too, bro. I see that Off the Grid's in the house. Lance White, D-Mac, Evan Duncan, Carlton Banks, OG Bobby Johnson, got Terry Davis, and Trey the MBDD. He's doing great work over there on his channel. DJ Nav, check for you. Supreme Ace, Wayman Brown, and Kwame Triple X. So, I just wanted to give people a chance to come in, and it looks like some people showed up. I wanted to kind of dive into this topic about CJ King. It's kind of made its rounds at this point. But I think that I'm someone that's well positioned to speak on the CJ King situation for the simple fact that I attended law school part-time for a year. And I was one of the few Native Black Americans in 2017 to 2018 that was attending law school, and let alone a top 20 law school. So I feel very, very well positioned to chime in on this topic, because at that time when I was going through that whole process of being recruited to attend law school, traveling the country to visit different law schools, because at the time I thought that I would move out to California or New York. So I visited a lot of law schools in New York and California, and also in my home state and in Minnesota as well. So Wisconsin, Minnesota, New York, DC, and California were the states that at that time, back in 2017 or so, that I was visiting schools. And, I visited a lot of them. Got to sit in classrooms, spend some times in these different cities. And it was a great experience. But for me, I just discovered that after actually attending law school part-time for a year, that I didn't enjoy the classroom portion of it. I didn't like the idea of having to go to the class all day, sit in the class, and then just regurgitate what the professor told me. That was something that stood out to me about law school that I didn't expect, because I think a lot of people coming out of undergrad, they believe that they're going to go into these classrooms. It's going to be like sitting in the U.S. Congress. You're going to be sitting there. You're going to be debating with other, students. You're going to be debating with the professor. But that's actually not how law school actually worked. So it was the exact opposite. It was actually you sitting there quiet and making sure that you were prepared for class, because based on the Socratic method, the law school professor will come in. You don't really know what he's going to ask you. He would just give you a case or two to study, maybe 3. And next thing you know, he just picks on whoever he's going to pick on. But what's funny about law school is that they're not going to pick on the one that they call the gunners. So in law school, the gunners are the men and women who they already know that are most prepared for class, and they don't pick on you. They're going to pick on the person that they think is the least prepared. So it was nothing like what I thought it would be. Because, we grow up and we have certain ideas. I was always someone that grew up admiring people like Randall Robinson. He wrote The Debt. He really started the whole conversation around Black reparations for, racial terrorism historically in America. Johnny Cochran was definitely like a hero of mine. Thurgood Marshall. These were the kind of people that the people in my family, we had pictures of them on our wall, and relatives would always talk about these kind of people. So it was more for me, I found out something I wanted to do more because of the historical aspect of it. But once I actually got there, and I did very well, I left my final semester with a 3.8. I ended up with a 3.8 for the whole year. I completed about 17 credits. But what for me, I found that I actually got more enjoyment out of the journey itself than actually being there. And I was at a top 20 school. But I just realized that a lot of the reading and a lot of the part that I liked about it, like what I found that I liked about it was the preparation portion of it and being able to like present a very strong case in a debate. That's the part of it I liked. But that's not what it's really about. It's actually about being trained for a professional job. So that's the reason why I felt that I needed to stop that part of my journey, at least for now. Because who knows? With everything going online now, with a bunch of universities closing down and it being more democratized over the next year or two, who knows? I might go back and finish when I started. But so I want to go and actually read the exact comments from CJ King for those of you that don't really understand what this is all about and what the big fuss is. I'm going to bring up his actual post on Instagram, and then we're just going to go from there. So let me bring up his post. So, okay, hopefully everyone can see the screen. Let's make sure we get the large one. Okay, so here we have CJ King. He's made the news recently. He has been on the cover, covered by a few of the native black population focused media outlets. And I know I saw him on the Griot, and I saw his story also being talked about on Madame Noir. So we'll kind of get into that. That's one reason why I want to play that clip from Madame Noir, because this is a perfect example of this tension and friction across the different Black Americas. And, we've talked about disintegration a lot, and this is more proof of that. But I think that one of the failures of disintegration is that it didn't talk enough about just this separation that's going on between the Native Black man and Native Black woman in terms of their outlooks and their goals and their desires and their positioning in this fourth industrial age. And you can't blame Eugene Robinson for that, because he wrote that book back in 2010. And even he couldn't have saw this kind of this separation coming. But we're living it right now in 2020. And all that this Wuhan virus and COVID pandemic is going to do is create an even quicker separation and make the divided line even broader and the gulf wider. So we're going to go and read what CJ King actually posted. So he says, "Now that I'm JD'd, bar number loading, I've entered into a new arena of Black men. And in this arena, I'm the prize now!" Exclamations, capitalized. Don't just take my word for it, though. And before you kill me in the comments, let me drop some stats for your ass right quick so you can see my point. So he goes on, he definitely takes a very, factual-based approach to this post. So he's obviously a graduate of Southern University Law Center. He says, Black women outnumber Black men by 2 million. Black women don't want to deal with a Black man who's gay, down low, has baby mama issues, or has a felony conviction record, in jail, which collectively is a large percentage of our race. Unfortunately, as statistically 37% of Black men are in jail, while 1/3 of Black men have some form of criminal record. Black women typically don't want to date down and prefer to have a Black man that is on the same playing field as her or higher. Well, statistically, only 7% of Black men are professionals. With this massive criteria that Black women don't want in a man when dating a Black man, they have essentially drastically limited the dating pool of viable Black men that majority of Black women are currently after, which means everyone doesn't get picked. And statistically, 70% of Black women go unmarried. You see where I'm going here. Additionally, Black women want their mate to be attractive, have some form of edge, style, to be exciting, and not to be a lame, etc. I know all that is subjective, but everyone doesn't have these so-called X factors, which lowers the number of viable Black men even lower. So with me now gaining access into this very small percentage of Black men that are young, for the record, I'm under 30 with 2 degrees, single and attractive and heterosexual, have no criminal record, no baby mama drama, and have some form of high-paying career potential that majority of Black women are competing against each other for. You tell me, who's the real prize here? So that's where he ends that. And I kind of wanted, before I started, I wanted to show something related to his background that I found researching his situation, because I definitely think it's important to look at where he's coming from and why myself as a Native Black American man coming from a working class background of, car manufacturer industry working relatives, I have to, salute this brother because he's continuing a line of Black attorneys, starting with his father, who is a judge down there in Louisiana. So I want to bring that back up so you guys can see that, this is a brother who he's coming from a long line of lawyers, and his father being a judge. I think that's tremendous. And I can't understand the hatred that I've been listening to in the media, and especially in the Black media, and then definitely here on social media. So let me bring up. So here is his father, Judge Mr. C. Hunter King. And in his about section, they have their own law firm, the King Law Firm. And he's the founder of the law firm. He's the patriarch of the family, a word that is really disappearing by the day, an identity that's disappearing by the day, the Black Patriarch. With so many people coming from backgrounds where they're being raised by single mothers, they're estranged from their family. Many of these people in the last 20, 30 years don't even know who their fathers are. You got a Black man who has his own law firm, who has risen to the status of judge, and he has two sons that are also following in his footsteps as lawyers and working for themselves. If you want to talk about building, this is a key example of building in the white collar professions. He's not sending his sons out there after they graduate to go look for jobs in the top 100 law firms or having to go work in some kind of government agency. He's establishing a portfolio of clients in a business that they can step right into, get experience, and then when he's ready to retire, they can take over the firm and practice. So that's something to really think about, is the fact that I haven't really heard that part of it mentioned, that this guy comes from a family of lawyers who are probably doing great work down there in Louisiana. And he's coming out of a HBCU with all the hype about HBCUs. See, I never had a chance to attend the HBCU being from the Midwest. I'm most familiar with Big Ten universities. But I know down there at a lot of these HBCUs, a big deal is made about producing Black attorneys and Black doctors and Black accountants. But apparently, over the last decade, a lot has changed since I was in that process of going through that whole applying to schools and things like that, graduating from undergrad. Now it's flipped to, it's about the women. So if you're a man and you're pursuing these kind of things, it's going to be downplayed somehow, marginalized, or ignored. But so here we have, Judge King, and he says that the accomplishments attained by Mr. C. Hunter King in the field of legal services warrants inclusion into the top attorneys of North America. So he earned his Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Southern University. So again, you're talking about legacy. And a lot of people don't understand it unless you've actually been through the university process, unless you try to apply for a job in corporate America, or unless you try to get a business loan. You don't understand what legacy means. You don't understand what cultural capital really means unless you've been through that. When you've actually had to be someone that doesn't have those kind of connections. When I was applying to undergrad, I didn't have those kind of connections because I came from a working class environment. I didn't have a father or a grandfather or uncle who had graduated from Michigan or HBCUs or anything like that. I had to work with my own instinct and the counselors that were given to me when I was graduating high school. And in college, it was a little bit better because you got your networks through your professors, through jobs and friends and things like that. But you still are the first generation graduate. So when I was going through that law school process, I was lucky enough to have scored in the top 15% in testing and GPA that I was actually recruited. So I was able to skip over that lack of legacy admissions, connections and things like that because they actually recruited me. So this is a situation where you got a brother, CJ King, who comes from a line of lawyers. He has legacy, he has cultural capital, and he has a lot of pressure on himself to perform as well. And that's what I saw that was missing from this dialogue in what I've listened to so far, sparingly, is that this guy has pressure on him too because he has to live up to what his father has accomplished. But the Black male father has been so removed in the public conversation from socializing children that we've forgotten what that means to follow in your father's footsteps. to be a high achiever, and to damn sure have the right to pop your collar when you accomplish something that many won't accomplish. So it says here that his father was also a graduate of Southern University. His dream was to serve the people of his state, Louisiana, of his city, New Orleans, giving back, building, providing justice to those that would not otherwise have legal representation. So he received his Juris Doctor degree in 1988 from Southern University Law Center in Baton Rouge. And he was also the editor of the Southern University Law Center's Law Review, which is also a great accomplishment, because usually when it comes to law review, only the top 10% of students even qualify. And then you have to compete by usually writing some kind of legal journal or paper that a committee will judge the best. And then they say, well, this guy wrote the best law journal paper. We're going to make him the editor for the year. So these are great accomplishments from his father. So in 1986, Southern Law Review Journal published his research on employment discrimination, the burden of proof. So you brothers out there, this is why I say it's good to do these deep dives, because now you have an article from C.J. King's father that could help you. Employment discrimination, the burden of proof, was his published research at that time on the Southern Law Review. And why is it important? We're in a moment now where this Friday, we're going to find out what the unemployment numbers are officially and what the labor participation rate numbers are officially. And based on my research, we're going to see unemployment officially at 15%, but the labor participation rate, which is much more relevant, will probably be 50%. And there's going to be a whole lot of employment discrimination going on as these jobs become more and more rare to get, and people are searching for some kind of income. You're going to see where you stand as a Native Black American man in the eyes of human resources. And you're going to want to have this kind of information. So there you have it. Judge King, he's been writing about this for 30 years or so, employment discrimination. So he also was a graduate of Loyola University Institute of Politics. So I'm going to stop it there with the judge, but you guys can go to their site, thekinglawfirm.com, to look up the background on the C.J. King, graduate from Southern. And he has a picture with his team of lawyers, which are his sons. What more pride could you have as a Native Black American man than to run your own business, be at the top of your field, and then bring your sons up to follow in your footsteps, and you got a team of lawyers that's all your bloodlines? But see, again, we've forgotten about bloodlines in the last 30 years when it comes to Black men and their sons. We've been running things through the matriarchal line for so long that we've forgotten the benefits of patriarchy, especially when you actually are there for your sons. Everything that he talked about in his post, CJ, are things that you hear every day on social media, the complaints against Black men and what they're not doing, what they should be doing. But here you have an example of a Black judge in the deep racist South. In the time that he would have come up, he would have came up as like one of the first he would have been a boomer from what I'm read. So let me just pause for a second and shout out, because the chat's going kind of fast and I don't want to miss you guys' contribution, because I definitely appreciate it when, you know, y'all stop through, listen to what I got to say. But I just want to shout out Wayman Brown. He says, appreciate your commentary. Reg, the bad guy. Salute to the OG, Reg, for the support. Kwame Triple X, he says, CJ was trolling. SU have nothing but women. I attended for 2 years in 1992. Ratio was 4-1. I hope he goes into family law defending men. That's Kwame. He actually attended Southern. Salute to the brother Caesar D1. Appreciate your support, brother. Big Poke Dog, he says, salute to you. January man, he says, peace to you, brother. Hope you're doing well out there. Grandmaster Troll, he says, congrats on the monetization. Keep working. Appreciate you, brother, for the support. So let me get back to this. So yeah, one of the things that we don't talk enough about is legacy, right? So a lot of people like me, I'm an 80s baby, and I grew up around a lot of people that represented the 1970s and 1990s generation. So Generation X and millennials. And this guy, CJ King, is a third wave millennial. So I've heard a lot of comments about the way he dresses, the way he wears his hair, but I haven't heard anything talking about the kind of strong family background representing that rare Black cultural capital that we're missing so much in the Black majority. No one's talking about that, though. All they're talking about the fact is that he put out a message that is very flamboyant. I mean, come on, I guess he was saying that in his experience down there at a HBCU and what's happening in a lot of these universities, that the women are getting all the investment. They're getting all the praise. So much of the scholarship money that was supposed to be equally distributed based on, minority status or whatever, it's gone from a focus on general over the last 10 years, and it went to women. So if for those that have studied affirmative action or those that have listened to my streams over the last 11 months or so, I've always talked about this fact that affirmative action switched to a gender basis over the last 20 years or so, specifically with white women. So there's been a lot of funds that would have generally just went based on merit and then race. But what happened is that it went from merit and race to just if you're a woman, and especially if you're a white woman. So a lot of the funds went to white women, and they gave a couple crumbs to Black women and Asian women and Latino women. But that's been how money has been prioritized at the academic level, and especially when it comes to internships and job opportunities in corporate America and places like that. So that's what he was responding to. So these things are important that you add context to what happened. So they want to talk more about this little comment that this guy made, which is nothing but a male version of saying Black male magic. It's like saying Black male magic. But we've become so accustomed to hearing Black girl magic, invest in the girls, and where has that gotten the majority of Black people? So he did the same thing, and now it's like a crime. But this is nothing new when it comes to Black intellectualism, Black academics. This is when I came into this space in February 2018, this is where I came in at with the classic man versus the Pookie and Ray Ray discussions that went on for at least 6 months probably. And it looks like, thanks to CJ King and his story, we're right back where we started when I came into this space. Now, classic man versus Pookie and Ray Ray conversation has returned again. And it's unfortunate because, in my opinion, the celebration should be about him graduating from law school at a time when Black males are so underrepresented at law school. Now, what are the numbers on that? What we know is that every year there's about 44,000 students admitted to law school. Now, let's think about those numbers. What we know is that only 10% of undergraduates will ever attend any kind of grad school. And medical school and law school are two of the hardest to get admitted to. And it's not even just about getting admitted to medical school or law school. It's about the quality and rankings and the prestige of the school. All that stuff matters when you're going to grad school. So think about that. Only 10% of undergraduates will ever attend a grad level school, and very few will attend law and medical school. So let me shout out to brother D-Mac. He says, great points. According to my dad and some family members, affirmative action has been going to white women since the early 80s when I was a kid. Yes, D-Mac, and it's definitely picked up since the late 90s. It really, really picked up a lot of steam during that period. Drega Mester says, we have to make successful Black men more respected and seen as the one true prize. Absolutely agree with you. So when he says that he's the prize now, all I can do is salute something like that. That's called self-esteem. But Black men are not supposed to be outspoken about their accomplishments, I guess, is the kind of message that the antagonists of CJ King are trying to put out there. So when you look at those numbers that of undergraduates versus how many will ever get admitted to a grad school, it's a tremendous accomplishment. But then what gets even more interesting is once you get into that inner circle of actually going through that process of applying to grad school, applying to law school, applying to medical school, you find out that all schools aren't even created equally. And that your chances of getting into like a top 100 law school, for example, is very slim. It's very, very slim because there's only 201 American Bar Association approved and accredited law schools in America? Only 201. So we're talking about, for the 50 states, that's about 4 law schools per state. Now, of course, certain states have 1 law school, others have 2 or 3. I think my state has 4, but if you average it out, it's about 4 law schools for every state. So that's 201 law schools for a population of 327 million citizens. So it's an incredible accomplishment to be admitted to law school like he was. And considering that his father was a judge, he probably graduated with no debt, because the great thing about grad school over the last decade is that they moved away from a need-based model to a merit-based model. So if you're someone that's a non-white person and you score a certain score on the standardized test and you have a certain GPA, they just give you money. They throw it at you. You know what I'm saying? As far as the tuition part. I know for me personally, what I ran into problems was that I had actually been out in the workforce. So when I returned to school, I was a non-traditional student. So I had accumulated like a certain amount of consumer debt that I needed to liquidate. And I spent the last 2 years liquidating my personal debt and, you know, minimizing my lifestyle and cutting my expenses. So I kind of was in the right place when this whole Wuhan thing popped off, because I had already went through that debt liquidation process in 2018 and 2019. So I'm good right now. But a lot of guys, they don't understand that, man, to get like a tuition scholarship to grad school is a very competitive thing, man. In law school right now, I think the average in the country, private or public, is about $45,000 per year just for the tuition. And when you add in the cost of living, which I think they usually average about 25 to 30K for that, it costs your average law student about $70,000 to $80,000 to attend law school for 1 year. No bullshit. It's incredibly expensive, man. Incredibly expensive. So this brother had a father to guide him through that process from birth. I didn't have that. All I had was my dreams and my aspirations and that hunger and that fortitude and endurance. That's my gift. I'm resourceful. I have a lot of endurance, and I won't lose. So I knew that I didn't have to have a father that was a lawyer or a judge, but it was going to be 5 times as more difficult to get there without that. And I did it. But this brother, he was groomed from birth to follow in the footsteps of his brother and his father. And who knows, usually in situations like that, there's probably even more white collar workers in their family. So he probably comes from like one of those top 5% type of black bourgeoisie families overall. So there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure on this young man. And I think what happened is that after that grind, just the individual grind against yourself, because the thing about schooling is that it's really a battle against yourself on one hand. But see, here's where I think I was better off than he was. Me, I was already considered a success by my family just being admitted to undergrad. So I didn't have the pressure that he had. Anything that I did from that point, my family gave me so much props for it. And I was praised for it because it was like, man, you're doing your thing. You're doing better than we're doing as far as like just staying at the blue collar thing. You can go further. That's what they told me, just getting into undergrad. So this guy, that would not have been enough for him. Shout out to the brother Harambe, salute. And to the brother CJ King, I actually graduated from Southern University in 2001. Great experience and a lot of legacy brothers on that campus. So it looked like we got a few brothers that graduated from Southern University in here right now. So that's cool. So you guys probably know exactly where CJ was coming from. But so a guy like CJ, he would have been under tremendous pressure, man. And a lot of times the children of highly successful people, that's why a lot of them fail, because they have so much pressure on them to follow in the footsteps of their father or their mother or an uncle or a grandfather, whatever, that was highly successful. So that's probably one of the reasons there was so much built up tension, so much fear, so much emotion. And he finally achieved what he had probably been working on for 28 years of his life. He probably was always told, well, you're going to be a lawyer just like your father. Your father just became a judge. Your father's running for political office. Your father did this. Your father did that. And then him having a brother that's a lawyer, you know how that sibling rivalry thing goes. So to me, I think that it was just like the releasing of exuberance and all the pressure off of his shoulders. And he said, I did it. And he probably had many doubts that he could follow in the footsteps of his father. And I think that what happened also is that, you know, one of the things people underestimate is that when you attend undergraduate, and especially if you've ever taken like any sort of social science class, history classes, they usually use Black pathology and Black social problems as the key examples to teach you things like sociology. And that's very depressing for a Black student when you arrive on a campus and you're taking like a sociology class or a cultural anthropology class or something, and then you're looking at Black Americans. They're less than 13% of the population. I keep telling you all, that 13% doesn't take into account the difference between native-born Blacks and foreign-born Blacks. The native Black population is more like 10% based on my own looking through the numbers. But then you go into like a sociology class, especially if you grew up in the Midwest like I did. At least CJ was at a Black college, so he's surrounded by nothing but Black people reading this stuff. I would be one in a class of 100 to 300 people, and there's probably 5 Black people in the class, and 3 of them are diasporan Blacks. So it might be myself and 1 Native Black American woman, and then there's 3 Africans or Caribbeans in the class, and everyone else is white. And you're reading about all these social problems and all these theories, but they based it all off of Native Black American pathology. You're reading about the single mother stuff, and you're discussing it with white people that grew up in the suburbs, and they're having their parents pay for their college tuition. They're telling you like, oh yeah, do you want to go to the party this weekend? Okay, I got to work this weekend. Oh, really? Oh, that's too bad. You know, my parents are paying for my tuition. They're paying my rent. And, you know, when you're living on a Big Ten campus, your rent is like $1,000 a month. You got all the amenities and everything. And you're in class with people that they're not working during their undergrad career. It's party and class, and they got everything pretty much set up for them after they graduate. So, you know, you study this kind of pathology. So if you're someone like a CJ King and you're sitting there in class, shout out to the brother Sigma Jones. He says, patriarchy is certainly a lost word in Black America. If you want progression in any community, you need some patriarchy. And that's true. So you got someone like a CJ King, he will be sitting there in a sociology class and he'd be reading all these statistics about Black men, because we know on a colloquial level, they just say Black men ain't shit, right? They generalize all these Black men, they ain't shit. They disregard the fact that Black men pay at least $160 billion in federal taxes alone. At least $160 billion in federal taxes used to build these universities, used to give Section 8 vouchers, used to build these highways, to pay the Border Patrol, used to pay the military. They don't count. So you're sitting there in class and you're reading about all these Black men in prison. Such and such percentage of Black men go to prison. Such and such amount of Black men won't graduate from college. So I know exactly where he's coming from. I know where he's coming from, because I remember when I went to my freshman orientation, I was one of my best friends. He had been admitted to the same university, and we had to go on these little freshman orientations, right? So before you start school at undergrads, they usually do like what they have, like a little incoming freshman immersion program for like a couple days where you get to come on campus, find out where you're going to live and all that, right? The counselors are usually like grad students or whatever that are just doing it for a summer job to make some money. And I remember this very beautiful red bone chick, man. She was one of our counselors, and she was giving us a lecture on how not to drop out in your first year. Because in undergrad, most people drop out between the first year and the first semester of their second year. I think the graduation rate might actually be below 50% now for incoming freshmen at universities. But if you can get through that first year and a half, it's almost guaranteed that you'll graduate. And I remember them talking about these different statistics about males, females, Black, white, and overall data. And I remember saying to everyone looking around, because it was only like 4 Black people, you know, in this freshman orientation. And I had said it to her. I told her, I said, I'm gonna graduate. You know, it's like I knew, right? Nothing was gonna stop me from achieving that goal. But you hear these statistics. So if they say like the overall graduation dropout rate for all students on university campus, they'll say like 50%. But then it'll always be higher for the Black students. They'll say that this amount of university students accumulate this amount of debt, but it'll be like double for the Black students. So you spend all this time hearing all this data in sociology in these different situations, and the black man is always told he's at the bottom. But this is what's so interesting about it. The black men that get past that first year outperform black women specifically on the testing and things like that. So when you got a guy like CJ King, black men score higher on those standardized tests than the black women that are more celebrated above them. And that's why they want to cut guys like CJ King off very, very quickly. Because what happens is that the amount of fortitude that it takes to get through that first year and a half usually is an indicator of where you'll go from there. And if you actually get to sit down for that grad test after you've graduated, the black men perform very well that actually make it through that actual undergrad experience. But we don't talk about this often enough. Now, I had a discussion with Dr. Phoenix some months back, and we went through engineering and the testing and things like that, and it was proven then. So black men that get through the undergrad experience, they have a certain level of excellence and a certain level of discipline that's required to go forward to grad school and succeed. And so that's how I saw this whole CJ King thing. But I think that the brother Man of Tomorrow, he pulled up. So and I see that Dr. Phoenix is pulling up. So I just kind of want to finish with the stats before they come on, and then we'll kind of go from there, because I want to take a different angle with the panel today on how I'm seeing this conversation, where I'm hearing that they're, oh, well, he was bragging. And I'm looking at the definition of bragging, where it says excessively proud and boastful talk about one's achievements or possessions. So we're going to deal with that with the panel. But I have a funny take on it, because him being a 28-year-old, what I did, I went back and I looked at the Grammy Awards over the last decade. So I wanted to say, when this man was graduating from high school, he would have been socialized in a hip hop music world of nothing but bragging and popping your collar, right? So I looked at the top songs that won Best Rap Album over the last decade that this young man would have grown up listening to, just like I did. So starting in 2010, you had Jay-Z and Kanye and Rihanna. They had that song, Run This Town. We ain't even looked at the lyrics yet. We're going to look at the lyrics of some of these songs with the panel, but just look at the title. The best rap track Grammy Award winner in 2010 was Run This Town. That's bragging off jump. Run This Town, a town that blacks have the highest unemployment rate in, especially black men. The last time I checked before COVID dropped, New York had an unemployment rate of black men of 50%. 5 out of 10 black men living in New York City were unemployed before the Wuhan dropped. When this new data comes out this Friday, when this quarter's data come out, it'll probably say that 75% of the black men living in New York City are unemployed, and half of the black women. So Jay-Z in 2010 got a Grammy for Run This Town, a town that's run by the Jewish community and Italians and white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. But somehow that song got the Grammy, right? Now, 2011, Jay-Z wins Best Rap Track again with Alicia Keys, Empire State of Mind. Again, bragging. I own it. So he won it in 2010 for Run This Town. Then he won it the next year for Empire State of Mind in a city that blacks is at the bottom of the barrel. But that's not bragging, though. That's not bragging. 2012, All of the Lights by Kanye West. He won it in 2012. And we know all Kanye West does is show his self-esteem and brag. But it's okay. Y'all gonna love this one. Everyone remembers this one because this was a big scandal back in 2013 because Gwyneth Paltrow was hanging out with Jay-Z and Beyonce, and she was using the word nigga, and other white people around him was using the word nigga, and it kind of was a scandal. Now, 2013, Niggas in Paris. Jay-Z and Kanye West gets Best Rap Track of the Year. Let me say it again. If that ain't bragging, if that ain't flamboyance and popping your collar, they got the Best Rap Grammy for that year, Niggas in Paris. Three niggas is in Paris. And if you go look at the video, they are out there drinking champagne at the Eiffel Tower. They are proud of their accomplishments, right? 2014, Thrift Shop by Macklemore. 2015, Kendrick Lamar, I. That whole, I haven't even shared any lyrics with y'all, man. We're just looking at the title of the songs that won Best Rap Grammy that year. I, Kendrick Lamar's track I, 2015. So when CJ King popped this, Kali said, I am the prize. But when Kendrick Lamar does it, no one has anything to say. 2016, Kendrick Lamar got it again with All Right. 2017, Drake got it. Hotline Bling. 2018, Kendrick Lamar Humble. 2019, God's Plan by Drake. And then this year, the Grammy went to 21 Savage and J. Cole for A Lot. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to bring the panelists up, and then we just kind of work from there, man, because I wanted to give it a different spin, because we haven't even looked at the lyrics, but just the title of the songs. So for every year of the last 10 years, these would have been the tracks that the brother CJ King was listening to. So it's okay for the rappers and the athletes and the drug dealers to pop their collar. It's okay for educated black women to pop their collars. And I know, because I look on my Instagram and I'm proud to see women out there popping their collars with the nice looking dress on, got their makeup done, with their graduation gown on, taking 1,000 pictures. That's the day that you should do that. But when this one young man comes out here and says, man, y'all been shitting on me, telling me that I'm not the prize, I'm the prize. I'm in that 2%. And that's what he didn't say. What he actually didn't include in his data is that only 2% of the 800,000 attorneys in any given year in America are black men. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to bring up MOT and Dr. Phoenix, man. Man, tomorrow.
Hey, how's it going, man? Hey, what's going on, man?
I was just, you actually inspired me to put this one out here because, I kind of just been on some, trying to do some other things during this quarantine, but I heard your video today and I said, you know what? I got to get my spin on this after hearing your upload. Well, good job on that, bro. You got it.
We have to realize that a lot of these black men out here believe in female agency a hell of a lot more than they believe in male agency. And there's not a problem with that. But you have to understand that if from this point forward, you can't be called flashing ratchet women that they claim they hate, that they claim are not important to them. You can't get around the track record of what we celebrate in Black America. You can't get around it. It makes you look like a clown and a fool, trying to make it look like this guy should hide what he says, what he does for a living. Dude, I left home at 17 years old. You know how I felt being around people who were in their 20s, late 20s, people in their late 30s, late 40s, late 50s, doing the same shit I was doing as a 17-year-old dude. What you think type of hatred that I got from mostly black people, not white people, for me being in that position?
Big time. I know exactly what you're saying.
Big time.
I told the story of my uncle, and I love him to death, but he was angry at me because I didn't take a union job with them, working at Ford or General Motors. He said that, oh, you could be making $60,000 in 2 years, And I told him, no, I want to do something different. And he basically told me that I was going to fail because none of them had succeeded. He actually told me that. He didn't even mean it. And at the time I took it very personal, but come to find out, he really just, in his mind, he didn't see me as a black man. He didn't see the point of going to a university when you could just make $60K a year and find like a little local working class girl and marry her and have kids. He didn't understand it at that time.
All right, man, but let me tell you what's worse than what you just said. The very first time I was homeless, I was downtown Louisville, Kentucky. The homeless shelter is still there. And in fact, every time I go to visit my family members, I take a day out and I track down all the guys who I slept in that room with, and we still go out. We have a good time, right? Every time I go there once a year around Christmas time, right? Every time I'm there. When I decided that I was there because, my mom had died and a whole bunch of stuff happened in 2008, 2009, and I ended up homeless. You know who was trying to keep me there more than anybody else? It wasn't the homeless men who were smart as fuck as a group. It was the fucking counselors who was trying to keep me there. The people who I thought who was on my side, who wanted to get me the fuck out of there. Those were the people who was trying to keep me there the most. Those were the people.
Well, you see, now, I'm glad you brought that part up because that's what I was talking about. How so for someone like a CJ King, when he's sitting there in undergrad, he's reading about black pathology, black male homelessness, and all this. So what we don't talk about is the other side of that. Black pathology creates a lot of jobs for white people, and then they're chosen black females specifically that get their job. So when you were in that homeless shelter, they get money based on the number of heads they have in that homeless shelter. On average.
I didn't know that I was getting food stamps. And the reason why they wanted to keep me there was that they was getting like $20,000 in grant money per month. They was getting food stamps off me, all types of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, listen, man. I just went through a rough patch and I want to get the fuck out of here. Them dudes for having that shit. It's like, nah, man, we got you. You're going to be here forever. And that's how it was. No different than what you hear in society. No different. Same arguments. It was just happening from different types of people.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're getting all these state guaranteed benefits for someone like you to be in there. They can't afford for you to leave that homeless shelter. They want to keep you in there as much as possible. Because again,
these people were getting $60,000 a year.
Yep.
I couldn't even make 10 grand for myself, but they were making. Dude, listen, man, they were getting money from the VA, federal. They was getting money from the state of Kentucky. They was getting money from the county. They had no intention.
Well, again, that goes back to the whole thing that they build prisons based off how many black boys drop out of kindergarten to first grade.
They know this up front.
Yeah, they know.
Dude, listen, man. They have it down to a mathematical calculation.
Yep.
All of it.
Don't they call it the prison? They call it like the what is it? The single mother cradle to what is it?
Yeah, the prison, the school to prison industrial pipeline. That's what they call it.
Yeah. They already in for it, man.
Yeah, and it's like it's even worse than that, right? Because now, once you go back and you start getting part of the educational system, it's like they pay women like an extra in Mississippi at least. They pay women like an extra $200-300 a month as long as your child is signed up in special education. Like, you know what I'm saying? There ain't nothing wrong with these goddamn kids. It's just that she chose a person who she shouldn't have had a kid with, and this kid doesn't even know that sitting in there playing Xbox in special education, because that's what the fuck they do now, is somehow is going to help this dude be a productive member of society, and then this dude get mad as fuck after he been lied to forever, and now he don't feel anything for himself. Like, dude, like black male agency has been stripped from people from a very, very, very young age, man. And it's like, you know what? I didn't see that shit until I became homeless about how much they did not want men to get back on their feet. These people want to get a hold of you, and they want to hold you there for as much benefits that they can. And like feeding the homeless and all that shit is it is $1 billion fucking business. Taking care of immigrants who come to this country is $1 billion business. Arresting fucking immigrants once they come here is $1 billion fucking business. I said we should get into this shit. I'm working to get into it myself. But, you know what I'm saying? I want to help people get the fuck out of that shit. Rather than be sitting there and being on some bullshit. I'd rather help these motherfuckers get the fuck out of there, man. Because most people in those shelters and in those situations, they want to get the fuck out of it. It's just that they can't get the direct medical care that it would take 2-3 months at the max to get the fuck out of there, man. And dude, listen, man, like most of them dudes, man, they didn't want them dudes out of there. And the moment you tried to leave, it would be on some black woman shit. Like, who the fuck you think you are trying to leave and do shit for yourself? I'm telling you, man, it's just like that, bro. It's just like that shit.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the arguments that they make for universal. See, the conservative argument for universal basic income speaks to what you're referring to. That's why that's the form that I support. The Milton Friedman version of the negative income tax would get rid of a lot of this red tape and a lot of this bureaucracy that you're mentioning, and it would give the cash directly to someone like yourself or me. If we find ourselves in a bad situation and we had a zero income, you would get a max amount based on a cost of living standard or a COLA, I believe they call it. And I think it was like 20,000. Let's say just 20,000. And for every dollar you make, you would start to lose those benefits up to 20,000 because that would be considered poverty rate. But you would just get like a check every month for like $1,500, and that would be how it is. But you'd get rid of so much of this bureaucracy that benefits from the pathology that you talk about, because instead of having to go get a housing voucher here, food here, shelter here, they would just say, okay, this is how much the cost of living is for housing, a month of food or whatever, and they would just give you a check. That's the Milton Friedman conservative version of it, and it's only based on being at a poverty rate. I support that, but it would actually get rid of a lot of these people that you're talking about that are really, they promote our pathology and dysfunction as Black men because they're eating off that shit. And they're eating good. So they got to have a certain amount of Black men that are homeless. They got to have a certain amount of Black men that are unemployed to justify them getting certain amounts of grants from the government.
And that's the problem. And that's the problem, that people don't understand, that homelessness is a bigger business than fucking real estate in some areas. It is.
Yeah,
Hello?
I mean,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's just that people don't understand that there is a lot for suppressing male agency across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, once I decided to get the help, well, you know what I'm saying? You know, I just needed some downtime. You know, I just went through a whole bunch of shit and I just didn't have anywhere to go or any of that stuff. But at the end of the day, those people were like, nah, man, you here. We're going to keep you here. I'm like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about?
You kind of borged out, MOT. Hello? It looks like the brother MOT borged out for a minute, so it looked like he's getting his signal in order. But I would just say this. Something else that CJ King left out in his post is that, so about 44,000 students apply to law school every year that get admitted. So they admit about 44,000. I think maybe it's like twice that it applies. So let's say 80,000 apply, 44,000 get admitted, but only about 30,000 will actually ever graduate. And when you look at those numbers based on race and genders, it tells an even far bigger disparity as well. So basically, about 4,380 Black law students will earn that Juris Doctorate, okay? Out of 44,000 that are initially admitted. And remember, that's just tells you based on them calling themselves Black. They can be Native Black American, African, Caribbean, or whatever, or it could be male or female. So when you actually dig down deeper into the numbers, only 2% of those 44,000 that are admitted will, as Black men in that group, will become lawyers. So out of 800,000 lawyers in America, only 2% are Black men. So I can 100% understand why he's popping his collar, because people forget at the grad schools now, law school in 2018 became predominantly female now. Females are the majority of law students now. And that's going to have consequences for the future, because these are not, you know, a lot of these women come from gender studies, sociology, social sciences. And so they're going to do a lot of entry into the government jobs, prosecution, nonprofits, and they're going to be pushing a certain kind of agenda versus if they came from like something more competitive, like engineering, biology, business, and things like that, philosophy, they more come from the social sciences. So he's also saying that I'm one of the few at a time when it's less men, and especially less Black men, going to grad school than ever. So I completely understood where he was coming from, and I understand how competitive it is. But like I said, we haven't seen them say Black men magic is just it's a foreign concept to the last 2 generations for sure. So shout out to the brother Black Euro Strikes. He says, I passed the entire certified public accountants exam on the first try. When I told Black people, they shrugged. When I told white people, they thought I was a god. Man, I'm not surprised. And I bet you they also offered you a job as well, Black Euro. So I got to wait for the brother MOT to get back on here. I know that Dr. Phoenix and Trey said they were going to try to come through if they had a time to do so. But I want to bring up those lyrics that I was talking about from the Grammys, because for me, I wanted to provide like a framework for this conversation. You're talking about a third wave millennial who was raised in a hip hop culture while also having one foot in the hip hop culture, but also being immersed in that white professional black middle class environment that a lot of us, have had that struggle. That we grew up listening to hip hop, gangster rap. That was a particularly our music, but at the same time, you have those white collar reality and aspirations. So I was going back to the Grammy in 2010. That was given to Jay-Z for Run This Town. Now I'm just going to read like the first two paragraphs of the lyrics. I want to show you how a lot of the pop in your collar, a lot of the flamboyance, the crib shows and things like that. We grew up on that with MTV and BT. So just because this guy is a white collar guy doesn't mean that he doesn't have that same kind of energy and vibe to him, because he grew up, taking in this kind of music and messaging just like I did and you guys did. So Run This Town, 2010 Grammy Best Rap Track says, feel it coming in the air, yeah. And the screams from everywhere, yeah. I'm addicted to the thrill, I'm ready. It's a dangerous love affair, what's up? Come on, can't be scared when it goes down. Got a problem, tell me now. Only thing that's on my mind, what's up? Is who's gonna run this town tonight? What's up? Is who's gonna run this town tonight? What's up? We're gonna run this town. We are. Yeah, I said it. We are. This is Rock Nation. Pledge your allegiance. Get y'all black tees on. All black everything. Black cars, all black everything. And our girls are blackbirds riding with they Dillingers. I'd get more in depth. If you boys really real enough, this is La Familia. I'll explain it later. But for now, let me get back on this paper. Boom. That's the opening to Run This Town that got their Grammy in 2010. So the brother would have been 18 years old when that track was released. Shout out to the brother Sean Hicks. He says, good to have you back. Man, appreciate you, bro. It's good to be back, man, and be able to drop, my 2 cents on this conversation. But for you guys that heard the opening lyrics, man, I would definitely appreciate it if you go actually watch the video. But the whole video about Run This Town is about saying this is black excellence. This is black business. This is black men controlling their own destiny. But when the brother CJ King said it, for somehow it became a foreign concept. But I see MOT is back. You got it, MOT.
Yeah, it's not about what you brag on. It's who's going to benefit from you bragging. Like, as long as they don't consider you a domestic threat to their actual way of life, it's okay for you to brag. It's okay for you to brag in music or entertainment, because they know that you're not going to intellectually come and challenge them. And they know that when you're part of those career fields, most of those career fields is about exalting BS behavior, right? So it's not like you're going to go after that. So it's like most people today who you see exhibit that type of behavior, like, it's okay to brag on access to unfeminine women. It's okay for a 50-year-old to brag about how much game he got that's not displayed. But the moment you have a tangible degree, the moment you have a tangible something that you work for that has nothing to do with placing yourself in a subservient manner to most people in the so-called community, that's when you become a threat to everybody. Because a lot of people don't want to see you make it. They want to see you talk about dumb stuff. They just don't want to see you doing great things. And that's kind of the problem.
It's sick, man. It's really a sick idea when you think about it, bro. When you think about the fact that all you got to do is not be a black male and do exactly what CJ King is. I don't care what other group you are. You could be a white male, a black woman.
You will be fine. You will be fine.
You will be.
Wouldn't it be an argument?
Yeah, you would be celebrated for doing what he did. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it just shows you how ossified the stereotypes against black men have become, even though we're in 2020. And I think where a lot of the anger comes from is that those thinking black men like CJ King now can respond. See, that's the part that angers them, is that it was okay when we couldn't respond and we couldn't have a dialogue like that. Now in live time and give our opinion, it was all fine. But now it's very problematic for these different groups that are part of the black misandry regiments. And again, as we say on here all the time, we're the 300, okay? We are. Whores. The whores of black misandry, we're outnumbered 100 to 1. But we're going to keep on popping back, and we're going to keep on.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The only thing we're seeing is kind of the P&R being like recasted in like different roles. It's the same people talking the same nonsense. They still don't like us talking. It doesn't. I'm not gonna name names, I easily could, but I won't. But it's like it doesn't matter who you are, as long as your actual bona fides as a man is tied to how easily you can get unfeminine women. As long as it's tied to that, and you talk about that, you're still part of the group, their group, right? It's that is still what runs the day. It's about what you talk about and what you. I mean, it's a cult of following.
It's a
I know
culture
this what
of
you.
mediocrity, man. It's a culture
Yeah, it is.
of mediocrity, and that's why so many in the black majority lean so heavily towards a communist mentality. Because the great thing about communism is that excellence is looked down upon. Individuality
Yeah.
is frowned upon. It's punished. It's not, it's punished. Individuality.
I talked to a communist like a couple of days ago, and it's amazing what this guy said. Like this. Okay, communism. I'm like, dude. Other groups of people have communism, but they have communism from a meritocracy standpoint. That makes ultimate sense. Like you can't create duplicates of something that doesn't work. But when you put communism in the hands of people who haven't done anything, that's when communism gets done wrong. Because if they're failures, why would they not want to keep creating failures to solidify the power that they know they don't deserve? Right? So it's like
a great system. It's a great system for stealing from the talented. Because think about it. You're in that kind of system, you're able to subdue the most talented people and take all the credit and minimize their position, but you get to take ownership of their cultural creations and their intelligence and things that are practically made from the minds of a very small minority of men and women. That's why that system is great for the mediocre, because they can gain power by gaining power over the more ignorant. And then the actual victim becomes that 10% that actually holds up society, that in a free system can get the rewards for their own intellectual property and pursuits. So they want to control that group, and then they get to take credit because they can't. The person that becomes the strong man, the strong dictatorial woman in that culture, she and he, they can take control and credit for things that they never could have accomplished individually in an open system.
Absolutely. And this is why most people claim that they're the greatest of all time in this space on YouTube. But if you ask them about what they actually accomplished, they can't really tell you anything. So what they want to do is like, I was here before you, therefore I'm greater than you, and you owe everything to me about you. But it's like, no, motherfucker, I'm actually some shit when I turn the camera off. No. We're not going to count any of that. We're just going to count the shit on my level. And we're not going to count anything that you do individually, no matter what it is, no matter where you are. Because, see, that's what the kind of Black Hotep shit is. They don't care about your ability to go to college right now. The fact that they was on the field before you were mean that they are always ahead of you, and you owe their position to them before you're there. Like, this is what my grandfather taught me, not to listen to pro-Black people. My grandfather told me about mind state meritocracy versus skin color meritocracy. He told me to never listen to people, ever, whoever even displayed that. Because I had uncles in my family who rode the same line of nonsense that most people in the manosphere run. You know, when it comes to this nonsense. He taught me how to look at it, how to see it. He was like, this is my son. He was raised in the same household that I'm attempting to raise you with the values with. This is how he took it the wrong way. These are the people who he's attempting to lead. These are all the kids that he had. And this is the system that he is trying to recreate. Now, this guy dropped out of school, never formally educated in anything, right? But he's telling me how to think, not what to think, but how to think about the things that actually happen. And when you're raised in that type of environment, because also in an environment, I've seen how women had to work on behalf of the family in order to be in it, right? There was no such thing as a woman being able to be such as free. Like, no. My grandmother and my mother were very capable individuals. They can go out there, they could drive the tractor, they can go out there, they all had their CDLs, you know, they can go out there, they could do everything that men could do, they could do if the men were sick. We don't have that type of society anymore. And so when people come to this country and they exercise that level of togetherness in-house to where they ain't got to worry about anything outside the house, it makes it better for everybody. Even though that's not their primary job. They were able to still do it.
See, in my family, because so many of them work for, like S.C. Johnson, WAC, General Motors and Ford and things like that.
Yeah.
Once you graduate high school, it was like they don't care how you get it, but you better bring some money back to this house if you was a man. So I had some, people in my family that was into some dumb shit, but for the most part, it was bring back some money, pay these bills, and that's how your manhood was judged, by how much
Correct.
you brought back.
Meritocracy. I mean, like, dude, like there was no such thing as a person going around claiming that they had game. And even if they did, they would be in them gangs and they'll be out of there before the summer's out.
Well, they didn't
kill
talk
somebody
about
or got killed, and no, that would have been the end of them. I mean, like, you didn't have this level of self-esteem associated with non-meritocracy that you have today. No, you never had that. I mean, like, this stuff is very new.
But
like
even
20, 30 years now.
Thing, but even when you talk about the game thing, it's like all the people I knew growing up and being from the Milwaukee area, and I've come in contact with a lot of people that's in that hardcore, it was always about showing results still. At the end of the day, you still judge by the results you show. So if you ain't got those type of the highest quality women, I never understood what the point is of bragging about it. If you ain't got the rosters of 10s, 9s, and 8s, and you're only getting a roster of like the 3s and below, I don't understand why something like that would even be worth bragging about anyways.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to understand that none of this stuff was meant to be proven. It was meant about getting more people into the system of this, not most people graduating from the system of this. Because nobody has proved that they've graduated from any level of game. Nobody has ever proven that at the end of the day, these are results of my actions that I practice that is better than these group of people. You don't have that in this type of situation. You just don't.
Well, if the game could solve the problems that are impacting the black majority, then we would be number one across the board because no one invested more in dating, game, and black love than Black America. It's a standard that was really passed on to us from the last 2 generations. So if that was going to solve anything, then we would definitely be had the highest income. We'd definitely be at the top of all the fields. We would definitely be the most independently wealthy group in America. We wouldn't be having large groups of black people fighting for reparations if game would solve the problem. So ultimately, game is an individual endeavor, and it's not going to solve anything. It should be sold as that, an individual extracurricular activity. Really, it's really an extracurricular activity.
It is. It's
really about.
It's kind of like an elective.
Yeah, it's like an elective.
It's kind of like band or running track when there's real actual fields out here that need to be actually manned by people.
Yeah. Oh, we're losing, man. We're losing across the board, man, in so many different areas. And so that thing needs to be treated like an extracurricular activity. Sports fucking is really just a form of exercise.
Yeah. But that's what it is. Sports fucking and sports showing off for no actual reason other than to exalt the woman's position in society over the man. Let's keep it real. None of these people are independent of this woman. If you told these people, okay, let's call it the CJ King challenge. Show me what your accomplishments are without talking to, pointing to, or exalting this unfeminine woman in society, and you'll know exactly the guy who you're dealing with. Exactly the man who you're dealing with.
Well, I mean, we already know, like I said, the music that has represented the last 2 generations reflects it. And I want to go, so I had talked to, before you got back on, MOT, I had, pointed to how, like, this generation really grew up on this hip hop, swag rap, bragging, being flamboyant. But then when you got someone like a CJ King, who exemplifies both sides of the coin, the white collar professional career and production and competence, but also represents that, that socialization through hip hop music over the last 20 years, somehow it becomes this polarizing thing. But then I point to, okay, in 2030.
Yeah, but he stepped on the third rail, though. He stepped on the third rail.
Well,
the third rail is you were never supposed to have tangible accomplishments.
Well,
you were supposed to have non-tangible accomplishments that you just talk about all day.
Welcome to the third rail of the anti-misandry sector, because we live on the third rail up here. So when you look at 2013, for example, right? The Grammy for Best Rap Album that year, this is when the brother would have been 23 years old. Niggas in Paris by Jay-Z and Kanye West. They got a Grammy for bragging about Niggas in Paris. Now, let's read the opening lyrics to Niggas in Paris so we can get an idea why someone like CJ King, growing up in this environment, would say, I'm going to pop my collar in my lane. So they say, we're going to skate to one song and one song only. Ball so hard, motherfuckers want to find me. So I ball so hard, motherfuckers want to find me. But first, niggas gotta find me. What's 50 grand to a motherfucker like me? Can you please remind me? Ball so hard, this shit is crazy. Y'all don't know that don't shit phase me. The Nets could go 0 for 82, and I look at you like this shit is gravy. Ball so hard, this shit is weird. We ain't even supposed to be here. Ball so hard, since we here, it's only right that we be fair. Psycho, I'm liable to go Michael. Take your pick. Jackson, Tyson, Jordan, game 6. Ball so hard, got a broke clock. Rollies that don't tick-tock. Audemars that's losing time, hidden behind all these big rocks. Ball so hard, I'm shocked too. I'm supposed to be locked too. That's niggas in Paris, 2013.
Yeah.
But yet, everything in that whole opening is nothing but bragging, nothing but popping your collar. And I love it.
All of it.
I love it. You're supposed to pop your collar as a black man on this planet because the chance for you ever seeing 50,000 cash is very slim. The chance of you even seeing a job that makes over 50K after taxes is very slim. So just like I'm gonna congratulate Jay-Z and Kanye West for their Grammy and both now being in the Billionaire Men's Club, I'm gonna congratulate this brother CJ King for now putting himself in a small 2%. He's in the 98th percentile for black men in his field now. Only 2 out of 100 black men will ever be an attorney in the United States of America. Think about that for a second. Only 2 out of every 100 black men in America will become an attorney. But he ain't supposed to brag the way that Jay-Z and Kanye West just bragged on niggas in Paris. He didn't say niggas in New York or Detroit. He made it clear that them having their passports and them being worldly men is something to brag and pop your collar about. But CJ King, he violated the commandments of misandry. Thou shalt not pop thy collar, classic man. So he violated one of the commandments. As classic men, as everyday men, you are not supposed to be out there popping your collar if you're not being a pestilence on Black America. You're not supposed to be able to grow up on hip hop and succeed in the white collar fields, succeed in the investment fields, succeed in the legal field, and still be able to pop your collar with that kind of energy. It's supposed to be black and white. That's how they want to keep it. Black and white. Either you one of those brothers on the streets or you a brother that's 100% square. But when you present any kind of hybrid energy, I guess it's something that they cannot understand because that's one of the most uncontrolled black men that will ever walk around in this country is that hybrid, that he can respect the street struggle and he can respect the white collar struggle and competition as well. And that's why they're mad at CJ King, because he refused to live in their little box that they created for him 40, 30 years ago, whatever. So those are the lyrics from niggas from Paris, man. But I see that we got the brother JoJo Sigma on here. Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, what's going on, King Sigma? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. Thanks for joining. I know you said you're an undergrad right now, right?
Yes, sir. Heard so.
So you right there, you in the belly of the beast. This is your generation. You know, you right there in college. What was your take on the CJ King thing, man?
Man, it's when I first saw it, I was just like, when I saw the comments and stuff, I was honestly just disgusted because he ended up having to block his comments, some of his comments on Instagram or whatever. But on a couple of posts, you still got to see what people were saying. And it was one post I was on. He had he just had a picture where you taking a selfie, or well, not a selfie, like full body picture and stuff. But anyways, when I was on there, I was scrolling through the comments and I just saw like all the negativity towards it. And this is the thing. You just said 2 out of 100 men will actually, 100 black men will actually become a lawyer. But this is the thing. When I was on there, they were harping on his failure because apparently he failed the bar exam. Instead of saying congratulations on trying to do something with yourself, congratulations on becoming the outlier in the gynocracy, and congratulations on actually trying not to be a statistic, the first thing they said was, oh, even if you do got a degree or even if you do pass, you still ain't made no money yet. It was just like, it's so much stuff to knock him down.
Did you know that Hillary Clinton failed the bar exam like 5 times?
Man,
One of the most credentialed women and powerful women in American history failed the bar exam like 3 to 5 times I gotta check the exact, but it was like multiple times.
great. And then I had commented myself, and I said it's crazy that the women sit up here and talk about dudes all day, and y'all sit up here and agree with that and say yes, bitch, yes, this, and all that type of stuff. But as soon as a black man say he succeeded and not one of them statistics, it's a problem. I said it makes no sense that when somebody succeed and do better, that they get looked down upon. I said y'all brag about y'all so-called degrees and being the most educated 24/7, but when a black man does it, it's an issue. And I kind of got a whole bunch of backlash from that too. It was about 10, 15 people that just came under there just, you should be upset. He's talking about you. How can you as a black man just take that? I'm like, he's not talking about me. I'm in school. I'm trying to do something with myself. He was talking about the phase of the community. I said he was talking about the baby daddies, the gang bangers, all them dudes that y'all constantly complaining about. I said, how on one hand y'all complain that y'all want to do like this, then when he say he's a dude like that, oh, you don't want him now. Now y'all still want to. And this is my thing. They were basically just caping for the thugs and the gangbangers. They were basically saying, oh, even though you have all these achievements, we still want to mess with these guys, but we only allowed to talk about them. You not. That's basically what I got from it. And what's crazy, I was talking to my classmate Dre about it, and he said that it's the difference between black people and niggas. He was like, niggas love indulging in ignorance and bad behavior. He was like, at some point, it got to be just a separation, because you got people who, no matter what, they gonna always complain. And for them to be complaining that a black man actually succeeded in something, it just shows you how messed up mentally that they actually are.
The problem is, man, they just want to re-sow their dominance back into your success. And the reason how they do it is they make it so that way that you won't feel comfortable unless you keep them a part of your success. So I say at this point, anybody who claims to be pro-black, you got to provide some CJ King type results. Otherwise, I'm going to humiliate the fuck out of you on every panel that I get on. I'm going to ask you, what the fuck have you been doing with your fucking life? I can show you 10 years of tax return what the fuck I've been doing. Yeah, I can do that shit, man. You just have to walk up to these motherfuckers and slap them in the fucking face repeatedly all day, because all these motherfuckers are doing this Pookie and Ray Ray 2.0, 3.0 type of shit. It's just that they don't want black people to succeed. Exactly. All these pro-black motherfuckers are nothing but fucking failures. In any fucking culture, they wouldn't have motherfuckers like this around. Name me a culture where you got 50-year-old motherfuckers talking about game. You ain't got that shit. Here's the thing, man. If y'all fucking properly prepared the fucking women, and the dudes most responsible are the dudes who are okay with all the bullshit being around. They're okay with it. They're fine with it. They're fine with this shit. Dude, they're all one union.
I'm glad
they're one group of people.
I'm glad you said that part, because now what it presents is that so much of what these people try to blame outside forces for, we're learning more and more as every one of these cases comes up that they are the problem. A certain minority of Native Black American men and a simple majority, at least, of Native Black American women, they are the problem. That's why we're coming full circle in 2 years, and we're about to be right back where we started at. Classic man versus Pookie. The only thing I disagree with CJ King is that I would have just saluted myself. When I graduated, it was more of a thing between me, my family, you know what I'm saying? And I popped my collar. My brothers took me out. My pops took me out. We had a great time eating, partying, and it was great. But he brought in the black woman thing. And I was kind of, so that showed me that this dude really, he had a lot to, like, he felt a certain kind of energy about it. You know what I'm saying? That he wanted to be like he wanted to show, like, I showed you. Me, I never felt like that, because my aunt, she was one of the biggest people that actually pushed me when it came to education stuff. And she's a Native Black American woman. So I couldn't relate to that part of it, but I can understand that him being, I guess, in that South and being surrounded by that black girl magic, that brutal kind of imagery, he felt very strongly about how they have been throwing it in his face. See, the thing about the Midwest, it's more filtered out. You know what I'm saying? The more you go up economically, you're going to see less and less black folks to get in your way. You know what I'm saying? Because just how it's like very segregated economically out here. But him being at a black university, he's gonna be right in that kind of for black Americans. That classism. Yeah, it's gonna be hard. But I see we got SKC. He jumped on. I want to give him the mic, but SKC, before you go, I just wanted to go to this next Grammy track because I'm trying to build a context here so that people can understand that this brother CJ King came out of an experience. He came out of a culture that was dominated by hip hop. And so in 2015, when he would have been 25 years old, the song by Kendrick Lamar won a Grammy for I. Y'all gonna love the lyrics to I, because I love swag rap. I grew up a big fan of like Fabulous, Ryan Leslie, and people like that. So I love swag rap. It's what I like to work out to. So I know he would have been doing the same thing. So Kendrick Lamar says, this is a world premiere. This is a world premiere. I done been through a whole lot. Trial, tribulation, but I know God. Satan want to put me in a bow tie. Pray that the holy water don't go dry. Yeah. As I look around me, so many motherfuckers want to down me. But an enigma never drown me. Or an enemigo never drown me. In front of a dirty double mirror, they found me. And I love myself. The world is a ghetto with big guns and picket signs. I love myself. But it can do what it want whenever it want. I don't mind. I love myself. He said I got to get up. Life is more than suicide. I love myself. One day at a time, sun go shine. Everybody looking at you crazy. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Lift up your head and keep moving, or let the paranoia haunt you. Now, that's 2015. That's the opening to Kendrick Lamar's song, I. His whole song is about self-esteem, about the id, about popping your collar, because if you don't pop it and you a black man walking out here, ain't no one else gonna pop it. Matter of fact, they want to tear your collar off. They want to tear the shirt off your back. They want you around here walking around in rags.
Exactly.
They want you walking around in rags, dusty, dingy, and dirty, because that creates a narrative that everyone else benefits from but you. But it's okay for Kendrick Lamar to tell his truth, to speak his mind. He gets rewarded for it, and he gets paid for it, and he's celebrated. But when this young man comes out and celebrates his pedigree, this is a problem. But you got it, SKC.
Wait, hold on.
I just had.
SKC, before you go in, man, you need to give me the license plate on that rabbit that you want me to follow you down the rabbit hole with, so that way I don't get too lost. When I go
Man, I'm not gonna go too deep today. I like to because there's very few panels that that bring like a different level of intellectual spin on certain things, and King Sigma is one of them. So I'll state just the fringes of the whole, just the fringes. But I just had a question, man. Would to you, everybody here on the panel and in the chat, do you think CJ would have got a pass if his mama was a judge and he said in that IG post, "Mama said I'm the prize"?
Mm-hmm. He definitely would have. He definitely would have, no question.
All the way would have got a prize.
But I don't think that the one thing is, if his mom had been the judge, he wouldn't have had that kind of like male pride to say that, though. So I guess it's kind of a moot point, because see, we know that that's one of the things that the usual suspect, when it comes to black boys, they train them to be obedient. So I don't even think he would have had the courage to say what he said if he had been raised in a matriarchy like that.
Exactly. He would have probably did something like Kevin Durant and dedicate his success to his mama, none of his own accord. Mama, he would have said something like,
"We did it, mama. We did it. It wasn't my coaches."
Say it ain't so, man. Say it ain't so. So they would have had no problem with the dude if he was like, "I like to just thank my mama for helping me get to achieve what I didn't achieve," and so forth.
Mr. SKC, I swear they would have said something along the lines of, "This is what strong black women do." You know what I mean? They would have twisted it to fit their narrative.
Totally different narrative.
Do y'all remember the way that they were celebrated back, I think in 2016, when they elected all those black female judges out there in Texas? Remember that?
Yeah, in Georgia too. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
that was right here. That was right here in Harris County.
Yeah, but
when
you ain't
took
heard
that picture of those women.
Yeah, when they took that picture. But guess what? Now, have you noticed how things have changed in the last 4 years? You had all those murders by cops killing black folks out there in Texas. All of a sudden, then you had that black woman judge hug. Remember when she hugged Amber Geiger? She was one of those women that was part of that whole, that was hyped up in 2016, 2017 when they elected all those black female judges. But the moment that she hugged Amber Geiger, and then you started having all these cop killings and them getting off and all this, now all of a sudden they don't want to own Black Girl Magic then. But CJ
and King Sig,
go ahead.
You know what irritates me the most? Whenever it come to how bad the black community is, the first thing they say is, "Oh, the men don't lead." But it's like, at no point in time do they ever allow the men to lead. It's always, you know what I mean? It's always, you're not gonna tell me what to do. I'm do what I want to do. It's like they shift the blame to us even when it's not our fault. Like, and with the young guys,
What
like
I
my
did
age,
say at that time.
Well, the men that they choose don't lead is what they're saying. See, I always make them qualify.
Yeah, of course.
The men that they choose don't lead. So I agree with them on that. The men they choose don't lead. That's true.
I mean, King Sigma, but that's the price of control, though. The price of control is responsibility.
exactly.
Like that's the price of control. But to them, their price of control is giving men access so that way they can keep control. This is why I don't give a shit about people who are in situations that don't fit them, especially if they benefited from it, right? It's like, look, you want to go out here and sell all this bullshit to the community, so when you get snitched on by your pro-black wife, don't come crying out here about how you are a three-strike fucking victim. You're not a three-strike victim. You went out here, you purposely did this shit against people. You know what you were doing was wrong, and once you have no more control over your life, it's nobody else's job to bail you out, right? So it's kind of like they're okay with it until they have to pay consequences for it, and that's not how equality works. You see,
Exactly.
equality has a built-in responsibility model, whether your ass want to take it or not. And this is what people just don't get.
MOT. This
Oh,
is
shit.
going back to our conversation, man. You trying to bring standards to a standardless group.
I know. We're trying to get Mystique. We're trying to get from the X-Men.
And I think to
Just
a
stay a
certain
blue
degree, it's
motherfucker.
some of the things that that King Sigma when he has different I would say thoughts about what we see in Black America and so forth. Again, we're talking about a large group of people who do not recognize standards.
Mr. SKC, this is the thing. We talking about a group of people. This was a couple. I think it was yesterday or a couple days ago. These are the same people who, when the mall opened up, now with this whole Corona thing going on, packed that mall by the thousands
Of
for
course,
some damn Jordans.
this is the same people that had a
Go to the nail
coronavirus
shops
party.
after some.
Yeah, where 40 people came from the party with coronavirus.
Yeah, I mean, listen, bro. The hypocrisy is unreal. So let's think about it. What you guys are saying, and looking at the response to CJ King. I want to move to 2018 Grammy because I'm trying to get up to 2020 before we get off here. But in 2018, Kendrick Lamar, he got the Grammy for Humble. So his track was called Humble, and the track had nothing to do with being humble. It was that CJ King vibe all the way. So the opening for Humble from Kendrick Lamar, winner of the 2018 Grammy for Best Rap Song of the Year, he says, "Nobody pray for me." And I want y'all to listen to these lyrics, man, because a lot of brothers out there that's trying to escape that stereotyping of the black male and do something different, they can relate to this, man. Because see, as a black man, you don't have much help. You don't have much empathy coming from anybody. So listen to what Kendrick Lamar said about his struggle. "Nobody pray for me, even a day for me. Wait, yeah. Hey, I remember syrup sandwiches and crime allowances. Finesse a nigga with some counterfeits. But now I'm counting this. Parmesan where my accountant lives. In fact, I'm down in this. Dussy with my boo, babe. Tastes like Kool-Aid for the analyst. Girl, I can buy your ass the world with my pay stub. Oh, that pussy good though. Won't you sit it on my taste buds? I get way too petty once you let me do the extras. Pull up on your block, then break it down. We playing Tetris. AM to PM, PM to AM. Funk. Piss out your per diem. You just gotta hate them. Funk. If I quit your BM, I still ride Mercedes funk. If I quit this season, I still be the greatest funk. My left stroke just went viral. Right stroke put little baby. That's humble. Sounds pretty confident to me. Sounds like he was popping his collar pretty hard to me. When Kendrick Lamar does it, somehow I guess it's different. I don't understand it.
This the thing, King. So this is the thing. This is the conclusion that I came to. A lot of us like the illusion. They like the illusion of actually making progress, but they don't want to actually make progress. Because this is the thing. If we make progress as a whole, it'll be nothing else to complain about. Then that'll make the people who actually are the issue look themselves in the mirror and be like, damn, I'm the issue. They don't want to do that. That non-accountability factor is I'm gonna go so far as to say the men and the women have. Like, even with the gangbanger dudes, like this is the thing. Like, you got dudes who I guess the run of the litter or whatever, right? For some reason, they had a top group selection of the women, and no other culture does that work that way. I told you, black people as a whole, I ain't gonna say as a whole, but majority, they like failure and ignorance. It's they bread and butter. It gives them something to, I guess, live for.
It's supposed to work that way. It's supposed to work that way. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
True it is. What's going on, everybody?
What's up, bro?
No, I appreciate King Sigma for inviting me up here.
Hey,
I just want to.
What's going on, Trey?
Nothing much, man. I made a video on this the other day, and Joe, man, I gotta agree with you, man. Those people, those black people, and why I say that, they're not my people. I'm SYSBM to the core. They're not my people. When I look at how they act,
you sound like a coon, Trey.
Yeah, damn right. That's what I am. When I look at Facebook videos of women fighting in shower caps, women shooting men in the head right there in Houston where we stay, SKC, and all this madness going on, I look at that's not my people. So when those same people start going in on CJ King, I got to tell CJ King, look, bro, those aren't your people. You made this whole Instagram post in regards to somebody who are not yours. That's it. And he's going to realize that at a very young age, hopefully.
Exactly. And this is the thing that baffles me, though. We are the only community of people who look down on people being intelligent. Like, why is it that in our community you get called lame for having a brain? That makes no sense to me.
Joe,
you
do know David Carroll, right?
Oh yeah, I listen to his video. That dude is, man.
So we are literally in the rabbit hole. Everything is going exactly the way it's supposed to go.
And this is the thing too.
There are no rules or standards here.
I was watching
no focus on excellence. I mean, come on.
I was watching one of his videos. Now check this out. He said if you're a black man, you need to do this experiment. He said one day going to the grocery store, he was like, get in line behind the white dude and see how the black girl treat him versus how she treats you. So check this out. I actually did that. Now I'm a pretty tall dude. I'm 6'1". Like, now this is the thing. The white dude, he got ready to check out or whatever. It's, oh, how you doing, sir? How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. You know, have a great day or whatever. I go up to the line. She don't even open her mouth to speak. She look at me like she doing me a favor. Ain't that crazy? The only group of people to do that.
Man, I don't even take that anymore, man. You know, I just look them dead in the eye and I hit them with the kindness. I hit them, I went to pick up a load yesterday and I went, the girl worked behind. You could tell she was the STRAGG word, at the dispatch. But she had a body on her. Pookie would go nuts over her, pretty face. And she had her own hair. But the attitude was just, so you know what? I was like, I was about to go in. I was like, you know what? Thank you so much for being patient with me in this load I'm picking up. It's not your company. I'm third party. But you know what? You made my day doing this. Man, she about flipped. Because I spoke. I spoke, at that tone. I didn't do all the at first. I sat there for like 15 minutes because my load was jacked up. And all the drivers, this is Charlotte, North Carolina, were Maggles. They're coming in the, hey girl, look at you behind that counter. Ooh, girl, ooh. That's the stuff they were doing. I'm like, am I in bizarro land? What the heck is wrong with these people? And I just went up there. I spoke to her like an intelligent brother, stern, looked her dead in the eye. And she couldn't believe it. She started blushing up, cheese and caking. And honestly, if I was my old pookie self, I would have been like, hey, let me get that number, girl. But watching these brothers, I'm like, man, did I ever act? Was I that bad when I was my old freaking self?
Man.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that CJ, like I said, man, he should have not even brought up, the whole thing with the black community or whatever and the black women. I would have just popped my collar, said everything he said, but I feel like we reached a point now where the investment should be in yourself and building a new culture that can compete in this fourth industrial age. That's where I'm at. And I understand his frustrations being at the HBCU, hearing about all this black girl magic, being taught about the pathology of the black male specifically to such a high degree. And then here's another thing. Unless you've actually been at law school, you don't understand this. It's one of the most boring, intense experience one could have. You're given more, like undergrad has no comparison to grad school because it's professional school. You're being trained for a career and it has certain standards that are established. So you're reading like 500 to 1,000 pages a week of the driest text on earth. The only thing that can be dry to me is probably reading some kind of medical text, but you got to understand that you're reading these texts that are 500 to 1,000 pages. It's all about rank in law school. So it's ultra competitive. And so after 3 years, and then he got his dad in his ear and his brother in his ear. And after 3 years of being told that the chances of him completing that degree is less than 2%, the brother just said, hey, y'all can kiss my black ass. That's basically what he said. Y'all
But, you know,
black ass.
King Sigma, I'll give him a pass, though,
I'm glad he did it.
about being where he's from. Because I come from a two-parent home in the hood, and I fought it for years like there's something wrong with this community. But at the age of 19, I get moms and decided I'm going to go down this route and stand in it with her. Man, that was 97 away from it, cold turkey. And I look back now at like, holy
could you
crap.
repeat that?
I understand,
could you
CJ.
repeat that?
Trey, you Borging. Could you repeat it? You kind of borged out the last 30 seconds.
Uh-oh. Hey, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
man. As soon as you said I stand in it, you just start borging, man. Like the hive mind didn't want that to come
I'm
out.
going through like
Trey,
Still boring.
you got a bad signal, bro. When you get a chance to pull over and get a better signal, just let me know. Because you borging out and we missing all the game that you're dropping right now. But so while Trey gets his signal in order, because I want to get a mic back to him. Not going to be in here much longer. I just want to, chime in. I wanted to get to the last song because that was this year before the little Wuhan dropped and everything. Literally like the day before Kobe Bryant died. We lost that brother this year. He was a classic man.
King Sigma.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you see how they tried to dismantle that man's legacy, bro?
Oh yeah,
that was disgusting. That was disgusting, man.
You can't dismantle a legend and an icon in his field. You can't do that. So his legacy will outlive all of the antagonists. So we saw, but this is really nothing new at this point. This is all repetitive and cyclical at this point. But that night that Kobe died, the Grammys was about getting prepped up or whatever, and they ended up saluting him. So it was at the Grammys in 2020 that 21 Savage and J. Cole got that Grammy for the best rap song of 2020. And the reason I'm giving y'all this track, I'm calling this the CJ King Kiss My Black Ass soundtrack. And I want all you brothers to take the songs on this list and for the next week play these songs wherever you at during this lockdown. And salute to the thinking brothers out there that are now saying I'm gonna pop my collar. So let's go back before we get the last song. Let's go back over the list. Run This Town, Empire State of Mind, All of the Lights, Niggas in Paris, Thrift Shop, All Right, Hotline Bling, Humble, God's plan, and finally we get to 2020 a lot. So the lyrics to a lot, this is really, I mean, 21 Savage and J. Cole was popping their collars so hard, man. And you know, J. Cole is a college graduate. He's actually a classic, man. A lot of people don't know that. But he says, I love you. Turn my headphone down a little bit, yeah. For so many reasons, yeah, I do, yeah. Whoa, yeah. How much money you got? Straight up. How much money you got? Straight up. How much money you got? Straight up. How much money you got? A lot. How much money you got? A lot. How many problems you got? A lot. How many people done doubted you? A lot. Left you out to rot? A lot. How many pray that you flop? A lot. How many lawyers you got? A lot. How many times you got shot? A lot. How many niggas you shot? A lot. How many times did you ride? A lot. How many niggas done died? A lot. How many times did you cheat? A lot. How many times did you lie? A lot. How many times? That's this year's rap song of the year. Sounds like bragging to me. What about y'all?
Hey, man,
Sounds like
you know
bragging.
me. I think that's like an inbuilt part of Black American culture, but or subculture, as you would call it. But I mean, to me, I don't get it, but at the same time, I mean, it is what it is. So.
Yeah, this is y'all know when rappers say stuff like that, it get a pass because they'll do anything for that, you know, for the buck. Look at the what's the one guy named the Baby or whatever. The dude is like 5'5". You see how many women go crazy over him? They don't care when it comes to rappers.
It's the same thing with Kendrick Lamar. It's the same thing with Lil Wayne. They all 5'5". But then again, you know, when it comes to women, man, status is always going to play a role in seduction. You know, we underestimate status, but like status is that kind of like that universal pussy catcher, if you ask me. I think that we don't talk enough about status. So that's why you can have the Baby, Lil Wayne, Kendrick Lamar. When it comes to that status, man, that thing, it carries the weight with women, man.
That's one thing, King Sigma, but at the same time, you could be a low level dude in the hood and talk a whole bunch of grandiose things, and as long as it's not going against Black women, you'll be held as cool.
Mm-hmm. But if you read books, they'll look at you.
We see that right here on YouTube
every day.
Well, let me shout out to brother Brown real quick. He says, loved Black man formula, destroy community with drugs plus violence, times do a bid and give ice cream cones to the kids and sell t-shirts and mixtapes equals a real one. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's the standard right there. It really is some like bizarre Twilight Zone thing when we had these discussions, man. Like I wasn't even planning on jumping on today. I kind of been in that like meditation kind of stage during lockdown, really just, you know, focusing on the health and opportunities that are kind of popping up that would never popped up. And when I got wind of this, I'm like, this is just unbelievable, man. But the fact that it was a thinking brother, and I saw that recently there had been this campaign to get Black men fired from their jobs and kicked out of school for just having an opinion of their own or having their own preference. I thought that it's important that we brothers actually do get like our own little conversation going so that when they search, they will see that, no, we're not jumping on that bandwagon to drag another brother down after this man just put in all that time to get in. But these people, if they can, if his father didn't have that law firm, they would definitely be trying to destroy his future opportunities for work. So it's just important that we put our opinions out there to say, hey, there's another side to this conversation that's not being had. So that was my point in jumping on today. But I want to give you brothers a chance to make y'all last statements before I roll.
All right. Well, I'm gonna just say
it really is a
my bad, SKZ.
Oh no. I'll just real quick. I was just saying it really is a great father-son story. CJ King and his brother and his father. The other thing that I want to ask you real quick before I leave out, King Sigma, was your thoughts on this thing I heard of these Black women trying to get these kids expelled from school due to colorism. Did you hear about that, John?
Yes. That's what I was saying. I got the best laugh of it because like the whole concept of colorism, it's a very disingenuous, creation when you think about it because the only colorism is racism, right? Racists created colorism because the color scale was created by white supremacist white men and women. So it all goes back to racism. But what happened is that they got to use colorism because they don't want to alienate the white men that they're actually virtue signaling to. See what I'm saying? So it's like the white supremacist came up with the color scale, you know what I'm saying? And he taught the black woman first because in most families, it's the black woman that promotes the highest level of colorism. And the black man is taught colorism from his mother most of the time. And we saw that clearly with the Matthew Knowles situation like a year or two ago when he came out and told you, he said, hey, growing up where I grew up, my mom told me don't bring no girl that's darker than the bag, that old paper bag test thing. So when we talk about the colorism thing, it has a function. It's a beggar mentality, but more than anything, it's a way of excusing racism. So you could just lump colorism with racism, but if you call it racist, that would alienate the white men that they're virtue signaling to. So when they say, "Oh, these black men is a colorist," it's a lack of accountability for not wanting to compete in this world. We dark-skinned black men, we have to compete just like the whitest person, the yellowest person. We just gonna get it. We're gonna get. You're not gonna get every woman that you want, but these women.
And King Sig, can I chime in real quick?
Go ahead, man.
That's another thing too. Like they love us so much they hate us, and it's like you ever notice whenever they talk about that stuff, they never say, "Oh, I'm with the white dude because he nice or he do this, he do that." The first thing they say, "Oh, black man did this." But it's like y'all love us so much, y'all can't stop talking about us even when y'all with somebody else of a different. You know what I mean? It's
like I said, man. It's a sexual marketplace price control. And it's almost like a government thing. So, like in the government, like you're a farmer and you make tomatoes, you're going to try to get your politicians and you're going to lobby so that they don't have tomatoes coming from cheaper markets, right? So colorism is the same kind of thing on a micro level. So these are women who instead of just facing the reality of the sexual marketplace, they're going to use their voice and their lobbying power to try to restrict the market so that they can keep their value, at least maintain it, if not raise it. So it's just another kind of price control that they're using through lobbying, which is what they're doing through social media. So it can't just be the fact that there are some people that are just universally don't have the right aesthetics and are unattractive in whatever color you put them in. So what they say is that the pain that they feel from having low self-esteem is so low because of the competitive sexual marketplace that we are all in, whereas we just accept it for what it is. We're going to get what we're going to get. And if we can't get what we want, then we're either going to improve to get that, or we're going to just accept what we got. They can accept that kind of accountability. So they got to find out, how do I get these white men to feel bad for my condition? And so they got to find a victim who is an enemy at the same time with the person they're trying to virtue signal to. So it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So if white
and they failing at that, failing at that, honestly.
So if white men tend to have this history with black men of hating them and marginalizing them and in violence against them, racial terrorism, then they side with that white man and say, see, I hate him too. And so now we have something in common, our hatred for black men, but for different reasons. One, well, actually, it's kind of the same reason, because the sexual marketplace thing. If you keep black men's value low in his own mind and you keep his self-esteem low, he is not going to go out in the greater world and compete economically. He's not going to compete physically. And he's going to put himself in that secondary role in society by himself. Miseducation of Negro with Carter G. Woodson, he talked about that. When you control a man's mind, you don't even got to tell him to go to the back door, because even if there is no back door, he can be so controlled in his self-esteem and his self-vision of himself that his ass will become a carpenter overnight, build a door, latch it on there, and go out that back door and stay there because he's so under the control of that psychology. So this is just a virtue signal. That's why I don't even use the term colorism, because colorism is just racism. But again, because it's a dating thing, these women know if they call it just what it regularly is, racism, they will actually alienate the white men that they're virtue signaling to, who ain't thinking nothing about them, because they barely trying to pay their rent right now. This is May. Half of the country didn't even pay their rent this week. So those dudes that they're trying to virtue signal to ain't paying not a goddamn attention to them, dude. So I'm
Exactly.
not worried about the colorism thing because I'm moving past that, bro. I'm having the kind of conversations where, brother, just be accountable for what you're doing, focus on your progress and developing what you need to develop to meet your goals, whatever the conditions, and all these other little distractions, they don't really have anything to do with you at this point, dude. They really don't. Because the fact they have to even create something like that, that tells you that there's so many men that are voting with their feet and voting with their wallet, that they're in the desperation mode to even come up with things like that.
Exactly. And I want to say one more thing, Kick Sigma, then I'm done. I want to just you know what I mean, like shout out to you and the panel and you know everybody in the chat, but it's like I want to, you know what I mean, congratulate y'all on what y'all doing and thank y'all because y'all opened my eye. Like I was, you know what I mean, I started watching y'all like a couple of months back with it, like you and BTS and stuff, and it's just like it's like a whole new. I'm looking at the world so much different than what I was. Like I went from thinking like, oh, they the victims to it's actually a manipulation tactic. Like it's just y'all pass so much knowledge and information. Like it's crazy. And on top of that, like I was thinking like, cause I consider myself SYSBM, my girlfriend black or whatever, but I still consider myself SYSBM because she not the typical old, you know what I mean, ghetto hood rat, old blah 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 blah, all that goofy stuff. But on top of that, I'm getting my, you know what I mean, I'm in school and I'm trying to get my finance together. Like I got me a charge or whatever, and I'm working on getting me a little town because I'm going to move out my apartment, you know, give me a little townhouse and stuff. And I talked to the lady, like from listening to y'all, I had ended up getting credit cards because I know y'all was, you know, talking about how important credit and stuff is like that. And I built that up, and my credit score is 680. You know, it ain't good, but it's still, you know, still getting better and stuff. So I just want to say thanks to y'all for all the information and keep doing what y'all doing, man, because you young cats need it.
Hey man, JoJo, the future is yours, bro. Like you are carrying the torch. You're in undergrad right now. So this whole CJ King, you know what you're up against now, and you know we really appreciate you coming through. But again, like the future is yours, man. Like you represent where this thing is gonna go, and you just keep competing, man, and like you know beat everybody, just beat them all, JoJo.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, I see that Dr. Phoenix popped up at the last minute, so I want to give Dr. Phoenix like 30 minutes, and you know, because I really wanted him to be here in the beginning, but I know it was kind of short notice, so we can do another 30-minute segment. I hope that you had a chance to kind of like listen to what we were talking about, Dr. Phoenix, and just like JoJo, you're actually on college campus right now. You're at the grad school, and can you just give us your take on everything and the CJ King situation, the response from the Miss Andress, what you heard today, and anything else, bro?
Yeah. Good afternoon to you, bro. It's been a while since I heard you. So, my take on the situation, if I understand it to be correct, because I know the Black Brain Trust did a stream on it yesterday. So the gentleman was graduating with a Juris Doctorate, if I remember correctly.
So the brother CJ King, man, he comes from a family of lawyers, and he completed his Juris Doctorate, I guess, this week at Southern University, and so you didn't
Louisiana.
So you didn't see the Instagram post then?
No, I did not. No. My first wind of this was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday, okay. and I even then I kind of came on and I just kind of heard a bit of what Mike V and Complex and some of the other brothers over at the Black Brain Trust were talking about. But he completed his Juris Doctorate at Southern. That's in Louisiana.
Yeah, I sent you the link in the private chat, so afterwards you can get off. But basically, he was just popping his collar. And you know how a lot of times we talk about the statistical condition of Black America over here? Mm-hmm. He was just basically repeating the kind of stats that that the sociologists use against Black men and how these things are used and weaponized against Black men to like kind of keep them in a box. And on one hand, they tell you this is how bad you are. But then when you actually get out of that box and you move towards excellence and going against those stereotypes, now they tell you need to be humble. So you need to be humble when you succeed, but then when you fail, you need to accept it. So he was just, he was rejecting that whole premise that that's the kind of standard that a lot of Black women want. And him being at the HBCU, I guess he knows better than you and I the way that the college women that he was around and the women down there in Louisiana think. I don't know. I'm not living in the South, but that was basically the whole thing, man, was that he was proud of graduating. and he was saying that I'm the anti-stereotype, and I'm gonna set the highest price on access to me, and you guys need to celebrate with me. And if you're not interested in meeting that standard, then he was basically saying, kiss my black ass. That's what he said.
I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with that in particular. Again, I mean, I think the problem here is that, yes, you don't hear the stories of success of black men. So whether that's at the collegiate level, professional level, whatever it may be, you typically don't hear those stories unless black men fall in those very cliche categories of being athletes, entertainers of some kind. And so, you know, when you hear the stories of brothers who have gotten to the highest levels of academic achievement, again, we're talking about an elite profession here, a lawyer, versus, versus someone who, you might have just gotten blessed with the genetic lottery, and you got a scholarship to go play at, let's say, down, on the other side of town from Southern at LSU. You might have gotten a scholarship because you hit the genetic lottery. And so, again, I think part of what happens is that, yeah, I think it's very fair for brothers to get out there and celebrate their accomplishments and talk about it. Yeah. And gloat about it because everybody else does. I mean, you go on Instagram and you go on Twitter and YouTube and stuff like that. You can clearly see, black women, other groups of people, they're all celebrating their accomplishments. And the moment that a black man celebrates his accomplishment, no, you need to be humble. Again, for someone like myself, I, went to a Big Ten university, and again, I don't have that HBCU experience, but I am somebody who has gotten to medical school, and I would tell you, because again, for physicians, only about 1% of physicians are black men. You have about 1 million or so licensed physicians in this country. About 1% of them are black men.
And it was only 2% for lawyers.
Yeah. And then when you look at right now, for example, I'll take my particular profession. If you look over the last 5 years for medical school applicants, for example, the numbers have been increasing dramatically year to year. And so right now, where it used to be that you had somewhere around 50% of applicants get accepted to medical school about 5 or 6 years ago, now you're looking at a 60-40 split, where 60% of applicants will be denied and only 40% will be accepted. And guess who that 40% are? These are going to be your top achievers and your legacy applicants. And what do I mean by legacy applicants? Because I did hear earlier you all were talking about that, where legacy does matter, especially now when it comes to medical schools, for example. Going to a top tier medical school, yeah, that matters. But really, what matters for medical students is those scores you get on your USMLE step exams.
Oh, yes.
In particular, those board exams. And in medical school, you take two. So you take step 1 and step 2. Step 1 costs about $800, almost $900. Step 2 costs about $1,100, $1,200. And then you take a step 3 when you're in residency, and that costs about $1,500. So you have to take all 3 of those exams, and these are all 8-hour exams. Step 2 and step 3 is in 2 parts. So each part is 8 hours. And you have to pass all the exams to get licensed as a physician. And so you're going to spend thousands of dollars, and lots of people, especially step 1, fail it. Lots of people fail step 1. In fact, my letters of recommendation, every single letter of recommendation I had written for me when I was applying to medical school were written by black people. And that was because I spent years developing this network and getting the connections and getting into the spaces I needed to be in. So when it came time for me to apply, I had a retired Air Force major who was a retired Air Force pilot and a family practice physician write me a letter. A brother that was an epidemiologist for the CDC, ran multiple health departments, wrote me a letter of recommendation. And then I had a woman. She's an NIH researcher and a PhD educated nurse. Wrote me a letter of recommendation. All these folks are extremely well known in the industry, and certainly that's a rarity among black people to be exact. So the closer you can get in proximity to those kinds of folks, the more important the easier it is for you to kind of climb up that circle. And certainly, if you're someone, for example, you look at a school like UW-Madison or University of Minnesota or University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. These are your Big Ten schools, but these schools are also very infamous for their legacy admissions for these professional programs, law school and medical school in particular.
When I was
And
there,
in fact,
you know what shocked me is there were only the year I was there, the 1L class only had 3 black males, bro. It had like 7 black females. It was like 5 black females and 3 black males out of a class of 300 in that 1L class, and it was like 2 African Americans and like 1 diasporan black dude, and then it was kind of like the same for the females, like 2 Native Black American women, then like 3 African women or something like that. But it was less than like 7 total black students out of 300, bro. This is a top 20 law school. So I know what that whole experience is about, bro. And you being in medical school and having gone through those different stages, I don't think these people understand how competitive it is for a black man and how rare these days. You got the black schools where almost 1%, 2% of them are black males. And all these other people are living off of the gains of what black men fought for over the last 60 years. They're not getting no reinvestment for black men. All of that struggle and sacrifice is going to everybody but Native Black American men.
Absolutely. And I mean, and that's a great point, because I don't think people, until you're in an environment, it will make a lot of sense to you why this is so important. I don't care. I mean, I don't look, I'm just going to be really frank here. I don't really buy into a lot of pro-black talk and stuff like that, where where you want to just downplay every accomplishment the brothers do. And I'll give you a good example. The current Surgeon General of the United States is a black man. He's also married to a white woman. I know his mentor. His mentor is an oncologist, a black woman. I met her a year ago when I was at a medical conference in Wisconsin, and she talked to me, and her and I had a chance to talk, and she had made some and she gave me some very good information about me when it came time for me to start medical school, how I can, go about getting the stuff paid for and all this other stuff. And the funny part about it is that I don't know if you remember, a few weeks back, there was a press conference that the Surgeon General did, and he was speaking to what was going on with black folks in COVID-19. And, he used the language he used was, the vernacular was, I thought it was spot on. And I get why he did it. But, he talked about, big mauling, your abuela, and all this other stuff. And people and black folks took offense to it. And they said, well, you're talking down to black. No, you're not talking down to black folks, because you literally do have to talk to black folks like this. Anyone that's in healthcare will tell you that.
It's a loss either way, though, bro, because think about it. See, it's a loss for him anyway, because he's a black conservative. So he was going to lose.
Yeah, it's a lose. It's always a lose-lose for brothers.
Yeah, it's always if he didn't say anything about black people, they would have been like, how you the Surgeon General and you up there and all these black people was dying in Harvard University. So it's like, if you're a black male and you defy any kind of stereotype, whatever your political affiliation is, bro, I mean, they have set up a standard based on the historical mythology of black anti-intellectualism that they will always move the goalpost for black men. It's just that it's sickening, dude, that we're in 2020, and in some ways I feel like we're reverting back to a cultural Jim Crow with just black men, a Jim Crowing of black men. I swear to God, I feel like that when I end up in these conversations, man.
Well, and I would agree with that, because in the case of what I'm bringing up with the brother from the Surgeon General, it's always going to be a zero-sum game from black men like that. And again, and when you consider the black men for something like the brother CJ, what was his last name? Was it just CJ Green or CJ Green or whatever? When you think about the situation with him, the brothers you see,
CJ King.
Yeah, CJ King. Yes. When you consider the brothers that make it through those programs, that is not a mistake. I've talked about this ad nauseum about when I was an undergrad, brother. I was a McNair scholar, so I was a Ronald E. McNair scholar. But if you listen to the story, like Ronald E. McNair, if anyone's familiar with him, he was a black physicist and astronaut that died aboard the Challenger shuttle explosion in 1986. I had a chance to meet his brother, and his brother talked about his Ronald's struggles in undergrad and while he was getting his PhD in laser particle physics. And again, you hear the stories about, what's the other brother that's the astrophysicist? I can't think of his name. He's always talking. I can't think of his name. Oh my God.
Neil deGrasse.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah. There are so many other brothers out there like him that you don't hear about. And when you think about the story of like Ronald E. McNair and how this whole federally funded scholarship program was designed around his dream to get more black men into PhD level programs, into doctorate programs, and how when I did the program, I was the only black man in that program. 17 of us, I was the only black man. And just how at the end of the day, when you consider that, yeah, you can have something that's named after a black man that was started because of a dream of a black man, but yet there's only one black man that represents that. And what a lot of black folks don't understand is that once you have to be in this space to truly understand what it is that black men are up against, but more importantly, just how hard it is for brothers to get there. Because getting there is one thing, getting out of those programs is another. Getting to law school is one thing, getting out of law school is another thing. Getting to medical school is one thing.
No, in that grind, unless you've actually been in that grind. Do you know how many people I went to undergrad with and that I worked with? These were great performers in undergrad, right? They had the high GPAs. But when it came time to take that standardized test, man, you know how many people I know who lost their dream just because that part of the equation, the objective part, they couldn't climb that hill. And for those brothers that actually climb that hill, the GPA, which is more representative of just, consistency, but to pass those standardized tests, there's a level of discipline and raw IQ that you can't mimic. Like you can't fake that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I know people who have like 4.0s in undergrad, but when they had to take that GRE, that GMAT, that LSAT, the PSAT, they whole dream. And I'm talking about these were successful people, but the raw IQ portion of it, man, it broke a lot of people. So there's a lot of people that are forgotten.
You know why it breaks people, brother? I tell you why it breaks people. Those exams are designed for one thing and one thing alone, and something that black folk have fundamentally lacked for decades now. It tests your ability to critically think and apply what you learn.
Quickly too, though. But remember the time element, element of it, though, man.
Yeah. And let me help brothers understand this. Let me. The MCAT, for example, I took the MCAT, 8-hour exam, 8 hours. Because of COVID-19, the MCAT was shortened to about 5.5 hours. We're talking about an exam has 4 sections. Each section is somewhere between 50 and 60 some questions. You have about depending on the section, I think you have somewhere between 60 minutes and 90 minutes to answer all these questions. And these are questions that run the gamut of your that first 2 to 3 years of your undergraduate experience. It will pull from everything. And the saying that they use for the MCAT, that it's an inch deep and a mile wide, because the breadth of knowledge that you need to have to be successful is beyond the scope of what many folks truly understand. And what most black folks don't get, even now, you're looking at schools that have waived the GRE. And in fact, I know a number of law schools now that are waiving the LSAT in favor of the GRE, because so many folks just do not do well at the LSAT, especially black folks.
And the brother Turbattle just put that in the chat when you said it too, because that's what they don't. It's for females, and what's going to happen is it's going to backfire, because the having the hard test keeps it competitive. Because see, the black men and the black women that actually do the right studying, and they have the right undergrad degrees, they perform great. And so what it does, it undermines the hardworking Black men and Black women that actually do the work, that have the, because a lot of standardized tests is based on the kind of majors that you had or that you had before you take the test. So it's like, if you come from a major that doesn't have a lot of logical thinking and intensity, you're not going to do good on standardized tests, especially not with that time frame, because you got to be able to see an argument not through the English, but through logic. A equals B equals C versus actual English literature or knowing some kind of trivial history. That's not going to help you. You got to be able to see things abstractly very quickly. And what they're trying to do, they've been trying to lower the standards so that they can let in people to meet certain kind of affirmative action quotas. So in a way, this whole Wuhan actually is going to put a stop to that, because it's going to shrink the population at those schools, and it's going to shrink the opportunities where they're going to have to keep the standards high after this whole thing is over with, because it's going to be such a shrinking of the footprint and the access to those kind of classes going forward. So they did try that, but it ain't going to work because this COVID done changed everything. Ain't nothing going to be the same after this. But I want to give you a chance to make your last statement, brother Phoenix. I just want to give you a chance to talk because you came in kind of late.
No. I thank you for having me. I do want to say one quick thing in regards to the lowering the standard. Part of the reason they lowered the standard has a lot to do with affirmative action, but also has a lot to do with the fact that white folks themselves are not wholly competitive when they're judged against their peers. Not even just not white peers, but against specifically Asians and Africans from the diaspora. They are the ones that are really breaking the curve here.
Man, them Asians and
they are. This is why
American, just American ass, basically. They're kicking America's ass.
Yeah, and this is why if you go to medical schools now, you can have Asians that are about 5% of the population, but they're damn near 50% of your medical students. This is why you can see all these foreign graduates that are Arab or East Indian, and they're going into these. They're scoring so high, they're getting into these U.S. medical schools, and so then now they're breaking the curve, not just necessarily for Black students per se, but also for white students, and specifically when it comes to Black students, I will say this much, and it was talked about earlier, is that Black men in particular do tend to score higher on standardized exams compared to Black women, but also comparatively speaking, they tend to score on par with their non-Black peers. So I mean, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that Black men do score higher, and given proper preparation and resources. And I think that's the fundamental key here, is that if the Black men that you've seen that have come through these fires of academia, because again, it's not going through academia is really political, especially once you get to that graduate level. It is really political. It really becomes about who you know. It's not necessarily about really the institution you go to. It truly is about who do you know, and who can help facilitate your movement through academia and into that professional life and throughout that professional life. So yeah. So I just want to leave that.
When you talk about the socioeconomic thing, because again, I'm glad that you filtered it by saying that when you put people regardless of race, but if you look at their class, when you take like their major, you take their economic status and time investment, there ain't much of a difference. It's only when you put all Black men in one category and then force them to compete equally with those that come from, now the brother CJ King came from an elite bourgeoisie family. So he wasn't like probably you or me, coming from like more of a working class background. We did it on our own. But I know if I was able to get in the top 15% or so, and you're at medical school, it can be done. But it is interesting how when you actually look at it by class, I will bet you that Black men outperform everybody when you put everything equal. If you take a white boy, an Asian, and a Latino from a single mother home, working class environment where he's the first one, and then have the same major and sit down and take that test, I'm gonna bet on the brothers on that one. So you want to say anything before we go, Dr. Phoenix? Was that your last statement?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that statement. I agree. The great equalizer is very much when you see those resources get put behind Black males where they will score just as well, if not better, than their peers. And so again, I think in regards to the brother C.J. King, he went to Southern. Southern has a long tradition of the black bourgeoisie, the black fraternities and stuff like, and sororities and stuff like that. And so again, this that linkage, that lineage that you descend from a family of lawyers, or a family of physicians or engineers or whatever. And, even nurses. I look, a lot of folks don't see it like that, but at these Big Ten schools, these are legacies. These are folks, for example, their mothers were nurses, their fathers were CEOs, were nurses and stuff like that. People don't see that. And that legacy, that social capital that your family has, makes more of a difference than any amount of money that they can throw at the problem.
You guys got it straight from the med student, Dr. Phoenix. I appreciate all the panelists coming through: JoJo Sigma, Trey, Man of Tomorrow, and SKC. And thank you all, the viewers and those that were in the chat and the contributors to the discussion. I'm always trying to learn from you all and my panelists. And I will just leave you with this quote on self-esteem that says, "True confidence has no room for jealousy and envy. When you know you are great, you have no reason to hate." And so to the brother C.J. King, keep your head up. And I will just say that we're going to change that rule. That Miss Andrew rule said, "Thou shalt not pop thy collar." I say, "Thou shall pop thy collar, classic man." And salute and unity to all the thinking black men out there. Whatever makes us different, in the end, we all are on the same mission. And with that said, everyone be good.